Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. Patreon.com/Defense of the Patients. You can go there right now to support the show. For as little as $1, you can get access to all of the patron-exclusive content, which includes 2 monthly patron-exclusive episodes. They're a lot of fun. We sit down, we get a little more casual. There is some Dota talk. Apparently there was some talk about the Terry theory from Terrence Howard. About how 1 × 1 = 2. It's very confusing, and you'll have to listen to the episode to understand it. That was Ursi and Proud. And, of course, you heard the me and Roland karaoke episode. We released that on a Wednesday, like a week or two ago. So these are the kinds of episodes that we're doing. They're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to do, and we appreciate all the support that we get from you guys. All you need to do is donate $1 to help the show. But if you're looking to support something and you can only support one thing, today I'm actually going to tell you to support the Indiegogo for content creator D2BOWIE. So if you've looked at a YouTube video of a pro player playing a particular hero, odds are at some point you came across one of D2BOWIE's videos. He's a prolific creator within the scene, content creator within the scene. He slows things down. He analyzes what pros are doing on specific heroes to try to help us all be a little bit better at Dota. And he has started an Indiegogo because he would like to create some content. You'll hear about it here on the show, where he was the guest. You'll hear what he's looking to do, and it's some great TI-centric, pro-centric Dota 2 content for his YouTube channel. And we'd love to support him here at DotP. So if you go and Google Indiegogo, D2BOWIE, that's D2BOWIE, you can find his Indiegogo campaign and help support, get him to TI. He's a little over $1,100. He has a $7,000 goal with 20 days left to go. So he needs all the help he can get so that he can bring along the folks that he needs to help him create that content, film interviews, do all sorts of cool stuff. We definitely recommend you go and help out D2BOWIE. He, like I mentioned, is also the guest on today's DotP One-on-One. He's a very charming guy. He was fun to talk to, really easy to talk to, and he got me talking, maybe a bit more than I normally do on these episodes. It was more conversational than interview at many points. So I really enjoyed this interview. It was a blast to sit down and get to know him a little bit better. Talk about the South American Dota scene, talk about what got him into content creation, and just kind of inspiring in the way, I don't know, when you listen to interviews or you listen to conversations with people who are making a legitimate go of following their dreams, it's always inspiring, and that was definitely something that I was feeling throughout this interview, and an aspect of him that I really appreciate. He's giving his all, and he is looking for some support from the community to help him drive get a little bit further along with that goal. So definitely go check out his Indiegogo. Follow him on Twitter at D2BOWIE, youtube.com/D2BOWIE, and twitch.tv/D2BOWIE, where he tries to stream about 4 days a week. So go check out all of his stuff. Tell him DotP sent you, and hope you enjoy the show. Here it is. You are listening to a DotP One-on-One. Pyrian Flax, welcome to the show, sir.
Hello.
That is Casey Atchison. Welcome to the show, Casey.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Welcome, Sunsfan.
Hello, friends. It's been a long time.
Mott, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me once again. Very excited to be here.
Austin, Capitalist Walsh. Welcome to the show, Cap.
Thank you very much, man. It's good to be back.
Special guest, Sir Action Slacks. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another DotP One-on-One. As usual, I'm Cyphus, but today I am joined by a fellow Dota 2 content creator. You heard him yesterday on the Tuesday Q&A, and we are glad to have him back and feature him on several shows this week in support of his Indiegogo campaign to get him to TI7, D2BOWIE. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, how are you doing, Cyphus?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to get to talk with you. I know we were supposed to feature you on the Monday show, and I completely spaced it. I feel terrible, but I'm glad that we're here, and I'm glad we've got you.
Relax.
Glad we got you on these shows. So, let's plug your Indiegogo first and foremost. So, folks are out there. If you go to Indiegogo.com, and you just search for D2BOWIE. You can find his Indiegogo. It's titled "I Want Bowie to Make Content for TI7 in Seattle." He's got a $7,000 goal. You're a little over $1,100 of the way with 20 days left. Why? So why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is you want to do and what you think you can bring to TI7?
Okay, so it's kind of a long story, but a lot of the stuff that I promised doesn't really matter whether I go to TI7 or not. So I mean, I just wanted to create different content. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that Valve does talking about the pro players' lives that's amazing. I mean, I love all of their content. I'm not sure if you watched Black's story. I mean, I had no idea about all of his story, and it's amazing. But there's not much talking about like the teams, I'm not sure if there's gonna be a video talking about VP playing 85 heroes in the summit, and a lot of people that started watching TI, they're very casual. You can see that the amount of players and the amount of viewers spike at the time of the international, and it would be good to have some kind of analytical content, but that caters to people that are very casual about the game. But if I went to TI7, I actually also wanted to make some pro player interviews talking about Dota. So yeah, it's two different kind of stuff. It would be content catered about analytical stuff for casual players, and content for people that are kind of hardcore, but they don't usually watch interviews or they don't care so much about the players. But then I would try to make them talk about Dota. So I would try to, get these two different type of people to start watching content they don't usually watch. I guess that's what my goal was, even though I probably didn't explain it very well.
No, that's awesome. And I'm with you. Like that's the Valve definitely does a good job as far as those videos. Yeah, like you mentioned the Black video, and I did watch that recently because we were about to interview Black, so I made sure to check that one out. And you're right, it's awesome. It delves into his personal background, but it may not, and I guess Black maybe isn't the best example for this, but because I think everybody kind of knows his anti-mage love and that kind of stuff is kind of a meme in the community. But when I watch those videos, I especially with like lesser known players, I couldn't tell you what their best heroes are or what kind of versatility they have with heroes or where they specialize. That's as a Dota player, that's something that I'd love to see. I'd love to see more focus. I guess on the as much as I love the personal background stuff, and that's kind of what we do here on this show as well. But it would be nice to see that Dota background in addition to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess I just tried to find a niche that I felt like there was content lacking, because I mean the Dota community is amazing. Even though a lot of people complain that there are not a lot of content creators, I actually feel like it's otherwise. There are a lot of people making a lot of good stuff, and I felt like this was something that I could actually do, and that people would be interested. But anyways, awesome. Yeah.
So for those out there who may not know about your content, why don't you explain a little bit about what you do day to day and what your YouTube channel, which is obviously what you're most famous for. Why don't you explain to them a little bit about what you do with your content and why they should check it out?
Okay, well, when I started playing Dota 2, I was like 3.2 KMMR. I was very, very low. And at that time, Merlini was creating content constantly. There were a lot of people that stopped playing. AUI was creating content. So I used a lot of their content, and I felt like it really helped me grow as a player. But it came to a time where I feel like, Merlini, he probably has more stuff in his life. AUI, was playing. He was probably very busy, like training and stuff. And I was close to 5K at the time, and I felt like, okay, I feel like there's content missing here. I love editing stuff. I love creating these things. At that time, I already had some videos, but they were very trashy, and people didn't. If you like go very very far back in my YouTube channel, you're going to see some very badly edited videos. And I decided, okay, maybe I can do this, and I started making some scripted videos because I felt like there were some good content from unknown players, but they made those 70-minute videos talking about something, and it was not scripted. So even though there's a lot of good stuff, even I, that was very interested in Dota, couldn't watch 70-minute video, you know. And I said, well, okay, maybe if I make a script and try to do something more concise, I can gather to more people. And that's what my content is. It's analysis, kind of a deep analysis, but very short, so that even because it's something kind of hard to watch for a long time, so if it's very condensed and people can watch in like 10 minutes, I feel like a lot of people can learn from it and not get bored.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to segue away from Dota for a little bit. We're going to get to know you. So you live in Sao Paulo in Brazil.
Yeah.
Is that where you grew up?
Well, São Paulo is very close to Campinas, which is where I grew up. It's like 100 kilometers from São Paulo, and I spent my first 18 years living there. Later, I moved after I went to college. I moved to São Carlos, which is still in the state of São Paulo, because there's São Paulo the city and São Paulo the state. Okay. So it's all in the same state, and I studied chemical engineering there for 5 years. And eventually, I came to São Paulo.
So, what inspired chemical engineering as a major choice?
Well, that's kind of hard. I guess I always liked. It's kind of weird. I almost entered into pharmaceutical engineering or chemistry, but my professor just told me, hey, you're not going to get a lot of money doing that. At the time, I wasn't really interested in anything. And he said, just go for chemical engineering. You're smart. And I went for it. And to be honest, I really liked the graduation aspect of it. I just didn't saw me working with it, because in Brazil, you're basically in an office every day. And I like having control of what I do, you know, and I feel like working in an office, just being told what to do, it was not my style. And that's why I actually, I ended up kind of quitting my chemical engineering in the last semester, which is kind of crazy. I mean, most of my friends didn't agree with my decision.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I think that's kind of the dream, right? Is to not be for anybody anywhere. Is to not be trapped in an office. To kind of be able to work on your own, on your own schedule. Do you? Yeah. But do you find yourself working? Because, so how often do you put out on the reg? How often do you put out a video?
Okay, so it kind of depends. But if I really need to finish the video in one day, I would say it's like 2 hours actually watching the replay, 1 extra hour writing the script, 1 hour actually recording and editing my audio, and then like 2 hours editing the video. So I guess 6 to 7 hours straight. But it's never like that. I mean, you work with this kind of stuff. It's very hard to work 7 hours straight into something that you need to be very focused, at least for me.
Yeah. I mean, do you, but the difference being you're enjoying what you're doing when you're doing that.
Yes.
And it doesn't, I mean, but does it ever feel like work when you're doing it? Does it ever?
Rarely. Sometimes, I mean, if I'm feeling sick or if I'm like not happy with something, it's kind of hard to do it. But it's not because what I'm doing is it's hard. It would be hard to do anything. No, it almost never feels like work. I just love what I do. I mean, having control of what I'm doing, it's probably the best thing. It's something I was always passionate about, and it's something that over time made me like chemical engineering less and less. Not because of the course itself; it's an amazing course. I love cooking, so there's a lot of parallels between cooking and what you learn in chemical engineering. So I always like that part. But the actual work was just overwhelming to me, and I'm glad that a set of different stuff that we can talk later actually helped me to get this YouTube channel going in a way that I can sustain myself.
That's awesome. So, when in your life did you first get into video games?
Well, actually, very very early. My father is I'm not sure that the correct translation. He's an analyst, system analyst. I guess that's
Okay.
Yeah, he's a system analyst, and I mean, he had a computer in Brazil when almost no one had. And I remember like playing those DOS games when he had a very old computer. So I guess when I was like 2, probably.
What were some of those first DOS games that you played?
Oh my God, there was this one game called, I guess it was Dig. I mean, they were very crappy old games, but I guess the most known game would be, I guess the first game was probably on my Sega Saturn, which was, I played Knights a lot, I played Sonic, I played, I'm not sure if you had a Sega Saturn, but a lot of Sega games.
Yeah, I was it Bubble Buster Brothers was my big Saturn game that I played.
Okay.
Yeah. I wasted a lot of time.
Most people had a Nintendo, right, when they were kids, but I had a Sega Saturn because I'm not really sure. My father, he usually traveled a lot, and he went to Singapore, and I guess it was kind of big. The Sega Saturn was big there, and he brought it to me.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that Saturn, died as early as it did because it was definitely way ahead of where consoles were at that time, and kind of it's where nearly every other competitor wound up. Maybe just a few years later, but for some reason that was a big deterrent for folks with the Saturn. I'll never understand how that happened to poor Saturn.
It was probably more of a marketing. They probably lacked good marketing, or I'm not sure actually. I know at that time that my father used to say that it was the best video game and all, but when I told my friends, "Oh, I have a Sega," I mean, no one even knew what it was because most people were playing Nintendo.
Yeah, well, and I think Mario was more iconic whenever we were kids than Sonic was. Sonic kind of grew into it, but it was Mario. Mario, you're right. As far from a marketing perspective, Mario dominated everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been you're into gaming. You play your Saturn. You had some early access to PC gaming. When did Dota come into your life?
Okay, so probably 2007, 2008. I was on my 3rd year actually in school, so that's the last year in Brazil. Then you go to college. And I was very into Warcraft, but I didn't know the custom games part of it. I just played Warcraft because I liked it. So I would call like a lot of friends at my house, and we would play like multiplayer, like 8 versus 8, 5 versus 5s. This very big fights. It was mainly Diablo 2 and Warcraft when I called my friends there. And eventually this friend, he said, well, there's this game called Dota. You should play it. And I started playing it for like 1 or 2 years until I actually got into college. I didn't have a notebook when I first got in, so I stopped playing. When I got a notebook, he was kind of trash, so Dota 2 was launching when I got a notebook, and it took me like 2 years until I actually could play. So at almost at tier 3 was when I had my notebook, and then I started making videos, and it started from there.
So when you actually get to play Dota, is there a role that you prefer to play?
Well, probably carry. I was very into Lifestealer when I played Dota 1, so I used to play Lifestealer all the time. But yeah, and until it still is, I really like playing carry.
Okay.
It's probably my favorite role.
Any favorite carries that you're enjoying right now?
Let me see. I really like Husker, but it's like it's always a bet, you know. If when you have a good Husker game, you just win in 25 minutes, and it's just amazing. And you go for another game, easy MMR, or it's just terrible. Your team wants to split push. You're like pushing a tower, and then you die. Your team starts saying that Husker is a bad carry, and it's hard. But I really like playing here. When you have a team that actually wants to play around Husker, it's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are you still close with your family, with your mom and dad?
Well, I'm not close, like geographically, because I don't usually go back to Campinas a lot, but we do talk from time to time. I feel like when I first decided to quit college, it was very hard on them. I feel like, I mean, it's hard because they really don't know how big Dota is, and it took a long time for them to understand it. And now I feel like we're on good terms, but I'm not very close to them. Like you see, like I have a lot of friends that they always go to their parents' house and they talk a lot. But I am on good terms with them, so it's kind of a slow process, you know.
Yeah, and making them understand that there is a possible future in that for you.
Yeah, and I mean it's not only Dota, you know. I mean I don't want Dota to end, but I don't feel like if Dota ever ends, I'm like out of job and I have to work at McDonald's. I feel like I can go to another game. I don't know, you know. I feel like people see you on this game and they feel like your career is going to end when the game ends, but I don't feel like it's like that.
Yeah, I agree. You know, that's it's funny you bring that up because I've had kind of mixed responses from people, you know, in this organization and just in general in the community. Because I one of the questions I used to ask everybody is, do you ever worry about Dota dying?
Yeah.
And a lot of people get really upset whenever you talk about, you know, when you talk about that as a possibility. But that it's obviously, so it is something you've considered, like how you would launch forward from Dota or move forward from Dota if it were to start to fade in popularity.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I treat the decision of quitting college like it was no big deal, but I actually I thought for that for at least like a year, and I really feel like, I mean, look at Day9. He was a big Hearthstone player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he is now catering to the Dota community, and a lot of people like him. And I mean,
Or
if
StarCraft, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
No.
StarCraft. So there's a lot of overlap between the communities, and as long as you're making good content and you actually enjoy what you're playing or what you're doing, I feel like there's always a spot for you to. I mean, if that's what you like, if that's what you want with your life, there's probably easy ways for you to go from one game to another. That being said, I don't feel like Dota is dying, or it's. I mean, I feel like it has at least like 5 years, and that's a low estimate. But anyways, what were we talking before? I'm not sure how I actually got into the subject.
Well, so we had
my parents, right?
Yeah. So they were obviously concerned, or is that a concern that they presented to you at the time?
Yeah, that's a concern they presented to me. After they started understanding a little bit more, and then I started talking about like esports in general is growing. Like it's a very big industry right now.
Absolutely. I think I was reading a Forbes article the other day where they were talking about esports being $1 billion industry within a couple of years.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's fascinating to, you know, as somebody who grew up and I at the least had people who made fun of people who played a lot of video games growing up.
Oh, for sure.
And so now to see it turn into a $1 billion industry where, you know, it's thousands and thousands of people watching, tens of thousands of people watching, you know, competitive games. It's fascinating to see that cultural shift. Is esports? Would you say it's just as big in Brazil as it is elsewhere in the world?
I feel like it's getting bigger, but it always baffled me because USA is probably one of the big countries that started seeing people from their nation actually winning tournaments and seeing that there's like a future for esports. but these reached Brazil a little bit later. I feel like CS:GO was probably the first big win from Brazil. You started seeing people like mentioning esports in Brazil. Definitely there was a lot of people mocking me for like playing Dota or caring about video games. And while it's getting bigger, now SG. So in Dota we have a big team now in CS:GO as well. I feel like it's kind of weird, right? Because League of Legends is considered the biggest esport in Brazil right now because in number of players.
I
We
think
never
it is
really
in the world.
got a in the world as well. And we never really got a big placement or something. So it's kind of weird to see that CSGO and Dota have these very big names. And I mean, people actually making money out of it, but they're not as big, right? You can see that there's this disconnect between the money and the number of players. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's kind of fascinating. Yeah. So let's see. Do you feel like making content has helped to make you a better Dota player?
I guess it depends. I do feel like, actually, I'm gonna say that no. It's probably made me a worse teammate and a worse player because I feel like you watch so many high level plays and stuff like that, and you start looking at your team and what's happening. And if you don't have a good mindset, or if you're not a very calm person, it can get to you. It's like saying, people, can you just do some? Can you just do this or do that? And people just start. I mean, what the hell are you giving orders? I mean, this is a 4K game. Stop giving orders to us. Or and it can make you very mad if you like do this every day. And I guess another factor is that I don't play as often as I played before I started going very hardcore on YouTube. So I feel like I stagnated. My MMR is probably the same as when I started making videos. It oscillated a little bit, but it's probably the same. So that's something tough as well. I actually wanted to talk to Purge one day because I feel like he's the biggest parallel. When I see other YouTubers, he was like 5K for a long time, and it probably took him like 2 or 3 years to get from 5K to 6K. And I really wanted to talk to him, what's his perspective about this. I never had a chance. I hope I can meet him at TI if I find him there.
Yeah, and it's funny you brought that up because that's another thing I like to ask people that create content is, does it interfere with your ability to play? And obviously, if you're spending, 6 to 8 hours a day making a new video, then yeah, it's going to cut into that Dota time. Do you get to a point where you just feel sick of Dota ever?
It's funny, right? Because Dota is such an addictive game, and sometimes I feel like I feel sick of Dota, but I'm still playing it. And those are the times where like lose 200 MMR in a day because you're like just playing. I've been trying to identify when I'm feeling like sick of Dota, but at the same time I want to do something, so I play Dota because it's like I don't know, autopilot. I actually wanted to ask you, do you play other games besides Dota?
Yeah, I dabble, I guess is how I'd say it. I've played. Dota's been one of the more consistent games in my life, other than maybe like the Civilization series.
Okay.
But I mean, it's I can't think of a game even with Civilization. Civilization was a time consuming game to play, and I would have runs of Civilization where, I'd start a game on a Friday, and I always played standard. I very rarely played the quick play. So a game of Civilization, could no joke be 24 to 30 hours of gameplay if you're depending on how big your empire is or whatever. So it was not something it wasn't something you sat down and played like all the way through. So I'd sometimes finish games and kind of take a break from Civ for sometimes maybe a week, and go dabble in other stuff. But Dota's been the all those other games are mistresses. Dota's my wife. I
know the feeling.
It turned me into a PC gamer, because I actually, other than playing Civ on my PC, which I didn't need anything major to run. Dota, Dota obviously was only available on PC, and when I was playing it on a toaster kind of a laptop, and had a buddy of mine introduce me to it, and I realized very quickly like that when I wanted to play a game, I played Dota.
Yeah.
So it converted me over to PC gaming, and now it's exclusively PC. But yeah, I mean I do play other games, but Dota's the one I always come back to.
Yeah, I definitely converted me to a PC gamer. I was very into Final Fantasy, so I played after the Sega Saturn. I got a PlayStation 1, then a PlayStation 2. So I played pretty much all the Final Fantasies, and I'm actually considering playing Final Fantasy 14. I was very big in MMOs after the PlayStation era, and then it was like after playing Final Fantasy 12, I guess, I entered the Warcraft Dota phase of my life. Then it kind of stopped for MMOs because my notebook could play like some MMOs, but not Dota. And then I stopped completely and just went full Dota for like 3 years since TA3, I guess. Yeah, we're right. And now I am considering playing Final Fantasy 14 because a lot of people are migrating from WoW, saying that the game's the better MMO right now. Not sure if you played a lot of MMOs in your life, but
Yeah, I kind of flirted with World of Warcraft for a while. I was a really big tabletop gamer, playing like Dungeons and Dragons, right, growing up.
oh, okay.
And for me, that role playing aspect of it is always really subpar in an MMO, and anytime I play an MMO, I find myself wishing that I was playing D&D instead of playing the MMO. So I never stick with them. Plenty of my friends have, and I've had my love affairs with them, but they were always super brief. Maybe a month or two.
I see. I always felt like I could be a D&D aficionado if I had the right friends. Instead, I played a lot of Magic when I had the money, because I mean, it's just I feel like Magic is the Dota of the trading card games. When you see like Pokemon, Hearthstone, Yu-Gi-Oh, it feels like so much more robust, more thought out, and I loved playing that game. Actually, I considered coming back to play. I just don't have a crowd that plays. So
it's funny you brought that up, because we had a listener donate some money to us on stream, and his stipulation was that Roland, who you were on the show with yesterday, that Roland and I play Magic against each other on the stream. So we went and we bought a box of the latest, Amonkhet, I think is the latest booster.
Nice.
Anyway, so we went and bought one of those. We played it on stream, and I just barely downloaded Magic Duels on Steam, and that is what I was playing about 10 minutes before we started this interview. I was right before I got everything right before I started setting everything up, I played a quick game of Magic.
we should probably set up a Magic game. I mean, I really want to go back to it, so it would be cool to have people that are actually interested to play.
I would definitely recommend Magic Duels. It's not it's not going to be supported for much longer. Well, rather, they've released the last expansion on Magic Duels that they're going to. It sounds like they're going to move to maybe doing something annually again, like they used to with like Magic 2013, Magic 2014.
Oh, okay.
But Magic Duels has a ton of expansions, and if you're just looking to kind of casually play it, it's been a blast to get back into it and relearn all the rules. There was so much that I'd forgotten, and Roland and I, when we started playing it, face to face, we were playing it completely wrong. It was a travesty how wrong we were getting everything. So having the PC to force you to follow the rules and kind of teach you the rules was really nice. So I'd recommend Magic Duels if you feel like downloading something. And
okay, it's on Steam, you said, right?
Yeah, and free to play.
Nice.
So, yeah, definitely worth it. So let's see. What do you have besides TI? And you also talked about like maybe segueing into other games. Do you have any plans with the content you're creating to branch out into other games? Is that something you want to, or do you plan to kind of just stay focused on Dota while Dota's around, or?
Yeah, I do feel like staying with Dota. I feel like the type of people know me for like going very in depth into something, and it would probably take me like at least a year or more to actually learn another game and make content in the same style that I made for Dota. And at the same time, I mean, I just like Dota so much that a new game would probably have to be introduced and actually make me want to play it as much as I want to play Dota. I wouldn't just go for another game just because I'm afraid of like Dota dying. At the moment, I like what I do. It's sustainable, and I want to keep the ball rolling and just go with it.
Yeah, I strike while the iron's hot, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned on the Q&A yesterday that you occasionally play on the NA servers despite having miserable ping.
Yeah.
What are some of the big differences that you notice between the North American and South American servers? Or do you see major differences in like play style or maybe even in the skill range? You know, is a 3K here, a 3K there?
There's definitely differences. I feel like I was actually talking with Kips. I'm not sure if you ever heard of her. She's the TNC coach. She was the Fnatic coach at TA6. And we drew a lot of parallels between SCA and South America. Everyone says that playing SCA is miserable and it's super hard to get to 5K. And I feel like that's the same for SCA. I'm sorry. I feel like there's a lot of very individually talented players, but there's like zero coordination or like strategy. And when I play NA, it's very refreshing, to see people like saying, okay, let's smoke, or okay, we should probably group up here and try to bait X hero. I feel like the strategy part is way more, it's way better at the NA servers for sure. Regarding skill level, it's kind of hard because I was never able to play carry on NA and compare myself to other people. I don't want to say that the MMR is too different. I feel like it's probably comparable. But I feel like the strategy part is probably the biggest difference between the two servers. I feel like there's not a lot of talk in SA. People don't like to be told what to do, or someone that actually tries to set up the team. People just like to do what they want, and if everyone, the team that makes less mistakes is going to win most of the time.
Yeah,
the individual mistakes.
So sometimes the Dota community has this reputation for being toxic, right? Do you experience that toxicity in the South American servers? And on the flip side, do you experience that toxicity when you play on the NA servers?
Yeah, for sure. There's a difference in the toxicity. I feel like in the SA, people they are usually toxic in the chat, and they complain a lot, or they just keep pointing mistakes and pinging. When in NA, people they give up completely. It's like 10 minutes into the game, that Storm Spirit died for the third time, and he just I'm AFK, and he literally is AFK. He sells his items, just zips into the trees, and waits the game to end. If that was in SA, he would be complaining the entire game and griefing but playing until the end. I feel like there's almost the same amount of toxicity in both servers, probably a little bit more in SA, but I play more SA games, so maybe I'm biased.
Yeah.
I feel like just the way people express the toxicity is different.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's because it's funny you mentioned that you feel biased towards SA, because I was thinking in my mind, I feel like NA is probably more toxic.
Yeah,
and I'm sure I'm biased as well.
Yeah, it's probably everyone's going to say that the server they play is more toxic, unless they're from China, right? And everyone likes to praise the China pubs.
I have no experience with the China pubs. I think Europe West is as far as I've strayed from the NA servers, and that was very like maybe one game.
And how did it go?
Not well. In addition to ping problems, at the time I was really bad at Dota, really bad.
Oh.
So I'm still really bad, but
I mean, if you read like Reddit comments, everyone on the Europe servers are gonna say that they are Russians and that they run the game. If you go to people talking about NA, they're gonna talk about Mexicans or just random people grieving. and SEA is going to say it's super hard to get 5K, and everyone says that SA is toxic as well. So I feel like everyone's biased towards the server they play, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. So you've never been to a TI, and you're looking ahead to this one. What are you most looking forward to as a fan?
Oh, for sure, just being in the crowd and watching games in that big screen. I mean, it's so. I mean, I remember being like 3 a.m. in my house watching TI3, Navi versus Alliance, and just being super hyped. And I was like alone in the dark, watching. Imagine watching that with a huge crowd that actually likes and understands the game. It's probably an amazing experience. I'm very hyped to that. Have you been to a TI?
Yeah, we've been to the last two since we started the podcast. And yeah, I'll say the crowd. That's maybe the biggest highlight for me as well, is being in the crowd. I've been to professional baseball games, professional basketball games. I've never. It's strange to see the same level of enthusiasm, and it's just fun. It's uplifting. I don't know. I feel like I belong when I'm there. Hearing everybody get crazy over. We were in the stands at TI 5 when the $6 million Echo Slam went off, and I have never seen a crowd go more nuts than in that moment. Despite the professional sporting events that I've been to, that particular moment is maybe the most nuts I've ever seen any crowd go. And they were loving it. But even beyond that, it's not a crowd that, it's strange because the Dota community online, gets a lot of flack for being toxic, but that's never been my experience with Dota players in person at TI. You don't have fans booing, the enemy team or whoever they're not rooting for. Some people there have favorite teams. I typically I'll have a team or two that I'm rooting for that I feel a connection with or that I like. But for the most part, I'm always there just kind of watching Dota and just looking to see some good Dota. And I'd say that's what the majority of that crowd is doing. They're clapping and rooting and hooting for good plays, not for one team over another, not for they're not getting upset or angry or in anybody's face. They're just enjoying good Dota being played.
I completely agree. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like that's the biggest difference. I'm not sure if all esports, but Dota in comparison to other sports, is that everyone has a team that they prefer, but it's always amazing to see good Dota plays, and regardless of whatever team you're cheering for, I feel like there's always so many people watching because they really, in the end, they really don't care. They just want to see a great game from great players.
Yeah, and I'd say there was one time where I thought last TI, I had a very brief moment where I thought the entire crowd was booing, and it turned out they were mooing for moo.
Oh, I remember that.
That was the only brief moment. That's the only negativity I think I could ever report from a TI. Is that brief moment where I was wrong about what they were doing. They were not booing, they were mooing.
Yeah, I remember all the Mamamoo story. That's pretty fun.
It's definitely fun, and I'm glad. I hope that you make it. I hope that you get there.
I mean, I will go anyways. The only difference is whether I'm going to bring someone with me.
Don't tell people that. Don't.
I'm sorry.
Guys, Bowie might not make it unless you guys go to his Indiegogo right now and support him. That is
okay.
You got to get this man to TI. I'm going to help you with your publicity stuff here.
Thanks, man. I'm really bad at this. Seriously, I'm terrible at it.
You're too honest. So tell us. So bring up your Indiegogo. Tell us a little bit about like what you're doing as far as rewards for folks, because there are some perks that go along the way. And so what are some of the cool things that people can get, and what are you planning to do?
Okay, so I guess the biggest one. I mean, the biggest one I feel like is the things I learn with video that I can make for the person that contributes. So I got known for this series, right? It's basically I get a player, I get a hero that he's playing, and I just say what I learned watching it. And I would make a video of the person that actually went for that reward, praising. I mean, my videos they usually are very analytical, but there's always a rant or a flame somewhere. So I would get one replay that a person chooses and make a video kind of in that same manner. So I feel like that's a very fun one. There's also the is it better than six treants perk that is just a bunch of different things. One of the small rewards is a card that I'm gonna sign, and he's gonna be like D2BOWIE / Dota themed. I have a lot of designer friends, and they're probably gonna make something very cool. And on top of that, I'm gonna coach people that go for these awards. So if you have like 5 friends and you're just like playing together, I can coach you, or I can just make a normal coach. I don't know. I guess this one is pretty nice as well. And if you wanna, I mean, I guess Drasko does this. He in his stream he has some Patreon rewards where you can just make him play in a miserable day where he go like Radiance Crystal Maiden or something like that.
Yeah.
So one of the other rewards, you can just choose a very terrible skill build or terrible item build, and I will stream playing that for as long as as people find it funny, I guess.
Well, so folks, you guys got to go to Indiegogo.com, search D2BOWIE, find that Indiegogo and support him. Help him get to TI. Help him get there with the folks that he needs to create good content. So you mentioned you're going to bring somebody else. Who are you trying to bring along, and what are they going to do?
Okay, so this person is actually it's actually a very weird story. I ended up knowing this guy that works for a company called Twog Nation, and he's from Brazil, but I didn't knew at the time. And then he just shoot me a message, I guess, like 3 months ago. He said, "Well, there's this chick that she makes like some articles and stuff about Dota. I guess she dated Farah for a very long time ago." And he said, "Well, she wants to go to TI, and I mean, you guys should probably try to find a way to go." And then we started talking, and at that time we were trying to find a company and just find a company to sponsor us to go. But it didn't went all that well, and I just decided, well, I mean, I really want to do this. So, I mean, if Slax did it once, maybe I can do it too. And I started like building the Indiegogo stuff. And I mean, we just like brainstormed some rewards. I told my story. I mean, she didn't want to get involved in the whole story because she doesn't feel like, I mean, she does a lot of cool stuff, but she doesn't feel like, she didn't want to be included. But she lives in Portugal. She is from Brazil, and this is the person that helped me build a lot of the stuff and actually write a lot of the stuff, and that she is the person I'm bringing with me.
Awesome. So, and you guys are hopefully going to be there creating some awesome content, looking at what pro players are doing and interviewing pro players. And
yeah, I mean, making vlogs. I will try to work 24/7 and just make as much content as possible. The interviews are a very big part of it, but I mean, if I can't get interviews, I'll just, I don't know, I'll go full slacks and just do some random shit. I just want to create nice stuff for the people that actually supported me.
I have no doubt you'll be able to get plenty of interviews while you're there.
Yeah, I hope so.
Just from the few times we've been there are pro players walking around everywhere, and they are always more than willing to stop and talk with folks. So I have no doubt that you'll get them, and you'll probably ask way better questions than we do of them. They'll actually be high-level analytical questions about what they're doing, as opposed to, can you tell me how to play sniper? I think that's what Roland asked at TI5 most of the time, was how.
Did you guys What was your favorite player that you actually was able to talk to at any TI you went for?
Definitely Black. He's he's funny. He's charming. He the entire time he faked a sniper battle with Roland where they shot at each other with fake sniper guns, and told.
Do you have
told,
footage of this?
I don't. Only my memory.
Oh.
And I watched him tell. I think there is audio recording of at least a portion of it where he explained to Roland that he could be his sniper disciple, and that every game he won as sniper, because this was back in the 686 days when sniper was it 686 where sniper and troll were all the rage. And Black said that he played sniper because it made him more evil, and he really enjoyed being evil. And every person who played sniper because of him was one of his disciples, and that made him more evil in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Yeah, I really like him.
So, yeah, all right, well, we are going to wrap it up here. Tomorrow, Bowie's going to be back. He's going to be on Theorycraft Thursday with the guys who know what they're talking about, Ursi and Proud. They are our resident experts. Roland and I are the resident noobs. So you guys are going to get into the real meat of Dota and some good Dota talk.
Nice.
And it sounds like create some miserable tri-lane combo that you're going to get to try out. And hopefully, demonstrate why you guys need to send Bowie to TI, why you guys need to go support him. We hope that you do. And like I said, go to Indiegogo.com, search D2BOWIE, or Google D2BOWIE Indiegogo. You will find his campaign. It will be the first thing that pops up. And go take a look at it and support him. You can also find him on Twitter at D2BOWIE. That's D2, BOWIE. YouTube.com/D2BOWIE, and his Twitch, twitch.tv/D2BOWIE. So go check out what he's doing. Yeah, how often do you get to stream?
I am trying to stream daily, but it's very, I don't know. People actually feel like I'm this very I don't know, analytical person that does everything at the right time every day, but I'm not like that. I don't even know how I was able to keep with this YouTube channel for so long. I am trying to stream daily. Hopefully, I will eventually sort everything out and do it. But at least like 4 times a week I stream.
Awesome.
Usually at the time, I'm not sure how you use EST, right?
Yeah, that's how .p as a business, or that's the time zone .p as a business utilizes, because we have too many people in too many different time zones. So
okay, so it's usually at like 4 EST. It's probably the time that I will stream.
Hey, there you guys go. You're caught at work for the last hour. Go check out Bowie. See what he's streaming.
Yeah,
learn from somebody who knows how to play Dota. So,
oh, just a little.
Well, Bowie, thank you so much for coming on the show and doing this interview and being with us this week. We hope that you make your goal on the Indiegogo, and we're going to see you at TI. We'll meet face to face and shake your hand.
Nice. I mean, I hope we can actually make some sniper battles as well.
That'll be a blast. All right, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Pleasure. Anytime. And we'll look forward to seeing Bowie back tomorrow night on Theorycraft Thursday. Sure. Of course, you can find us at defenseofthepatients.com. Follow us on Twitter at .p_show. Patreon.com/defenseofthepatients if you want to support us, but don't. Go to the Indiegogo instead. Go help Bowie get to TI. And but you can't support us through the Amazon banner because that doesn't cost any extra. So just go to defenseofthepatients.com, click through Amazon. Doesn't charge you guys anything else. They give us some money and help us. All that good stuff. You know the drill. All right, until next time, this is Cyphus for D2BOWIE saying good luck and Godspeed.
Thanks, Cyphus. Bye-bye.